So today we are going to make bread. I have a really easy, simple recipe, and I've had it requested a couple times now to show you guys how to make a simple loaf of bread instead of sourdough, because I understand that is a little bit more intimidating. So I've made this bread for years now, and it can be used for a loaf of bread, rolls, cinnamon bread, anything that requires a basic loaf recipe, I guess. So we're going to start with our yeast. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna take your yeast. I like to store mine in the refrigerator. I've had this since 2021, and it said on the little container, it said it was expiring by July 2023. I still have a fair amount left, but I think that this will last a little longer than that, especially since it's been in the fridge. So that's a tip for you. So what we're gonna do is you're going to need, let me look here. It's 3 tablespoons of yeast. So 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to take a teaspoon. You're going to take a teaspoon of sugar. And I just use raw cane sugar. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. And you're going to combine this with a cup of warm water. You don't want it to be scalding hot. Trying to look for my little mixer that I have, but I'll just use a fork for today. So what I was saying is you're gonna combine this with a warm cup, 1 cup of water, and then you guys will kind of get to see it rise as we do the rest of our steps. So I'm gonna go grab my 1 cup of warm water. Okay, so here's 1 cup of water, and you want it warm to kind of get that yeast activating. So you just stir it together. Just so it's kind of all dissolved. Nothing too crazy. And then I'm gonna set this aside right here. And I'm done with my yeast, so I'm going to put this back in the fridge. Okay, so while that is doing its rise, what we're gonna do is, the recipe calls for 9 to 10 cups of flour, and I usually start out with 9, so I'm going to put in 9 cups of flour, a half a cup of sugar, and a tablespoon of salt, and then I'm just gonna kind of give that a good mix. So let's start with that. So again, 9 cups of flour. There's 1. 2. 3. 4. This will be 5, and see, I just kind of fill it to the top. There's no perfect measurement. So that's 5. I also use organic all-purpose flour for this. 6. 7, 8, 9. I debated doing this old school and just kneading it by hand, but my shoulders would not be up for that today. That's one reason why we got a stand mixer, is that my shoulders have been really bad. So I can show you a little bit of the basics of kneading after it's kind of like, you know, kind of incorporated and I've got that all taken care of. That way it's not too intensive on me and my shoulders. Okay, so now we're going to combine half a cup of sugar, and a tablespoon of salt. And I just use the Redmond's real salt. Again, it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever you have in your pantry. I've used einkorn before, and that's a little bit different water mixture combination because it absorbs the water a lot differently. So I just stick with organic all-purpose, and it seems to do just fine. It always has been, so. Okay, so I'm just gonna mix this a little bit with the mixer here so it gets incorporated. Okay, and that's it for now. Our yeast is still rising. You want it to initially double in size in the container, which it's not super important, but that's essentially what you want it to do. So. In the meantime, you could prepare your, we're gonna need a half a cup of oil. I am just about out, so I'm hoping that I have a half a cup of oil. I'm using coconut oil. I either use coconut oil or avocado oil. Either one will work. So you can get that ready. I already have mine melted in the microwave. You also use the stovetop. I do that too sometimes when I have time. And then we're going to need 3 cups of warm water. Again, the key is warm, not scalding hot, because then it'll kind of kill that yeast off. The yeast is rising pretty quickly. At this rate, I'm going to leave it right here. We can just kind of let it do its thing. Okay, so let's see how much oil we have, and it's gonna have to be good enough for today. I think it's gonna be close, but I don't know, so let's see.
I grab a banana.
So this is really gonna be pushing it for me. I've never been this low below the rim. So this will be a first for me. Highly recommend you have your half a cup of oil. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's pour this into our container. Half a cup of oil. And I think what I'm gonna do, because I'm scrounging for oil, I'm just gonna put my finger in here and just try to squeeze out as much oil as I can. Okay, so half a cup of oil. I'm gonna try to squeeze some out of here. I guess I should have been more prepared, but I'm gonna have to put some in my Azure order now, so. And then here is our yeast. It has more than doubled. And then we're just gonna dump this in. Make sure you get all of that in there. It doesn't take very long. It's just one of those things that you can get ready. You can get your other stuff ready while you're waiting for your yeast. And then we're gonna do 3 cups of warm water. Here's 1. Two. Three. Okay, and then we're going to combine that, and if I need to add another cup of flour in the meantime, I will. Remember, the recipe calls for 9 to 10 cups of flour. So we'll just kind of go from there. We'll get this started up. Just starting in a low setting so everything can kind of just get combined. And we're just kind of combining it right now to where it's a little shaggy. Not fully incorporated, but all of the flour is kind of, you know, put together. Okay, now that that is mostly combined, we're going to let this sit just like it is, and I will show you in a minute. And we're going to let it sit for 15 minutes and just let it rest. We're doing nothing with it, we're just leaving it in here. So let me show you what that... Okay, so here we are. The dough is still wet, pretty wet. And we're gonna let this rest for 15 minutes. It's very sticky at this point. So we'll be back in 15 minutes. So usually while this is doing its thing for the next 15 minutes, I like to kind of clean everything up and put everything away. So that is what I'm going to do right now. The only thing that I leave out is the flour and my 1 cup measuring cup. That way, if I need more flour after I incorporate it again, then I have that here and I don't have to keep pulling things in and out of the pantry. So we have about 12 minutes left of this just letting it sit, and we'll be back when it's ready to start mixing again. Okay, so we are back. It's been 15 minutes. And I'm going to give this a good mix. The dough has risen a little bit. Okay, there's the dough. It's fluffy and rising. So I'm gonna give this a good little mix and see kind of where we are. And then we'll see if we need to add flour. I don't think that I've made this bread and the stand mixer since I've gotten it. I've only had this since around Christmas time. So I'm gonna see what it looks like. I've just been very consistent with sourdough and I know what it looks like in here with sourdough. So I'm gonna go for it and see what happens. And I'm basically giving it a mix until It's not really sticking to the sides of the mixer. I wish I had a glass bowl so you can kind of see it at the same time that I am, but I'm just kind of here to explain the steps. And so far, I hope that you think that it's really easy, because it is. Bread should not be intimidating, and I know that it was for me at first, but ever since I started making my own bread, now I can't stop making. I love making bread. So let's give this a good mix and incorporate it. I'm gonna speed it up just a little bit. I don't want to over knead it in the mixer. So let's just see where we kind of get. And right now, I don't think that I need to add flour, but we'll see where we are when after a few minutes. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that flour won't be needed, but I'll give it a feel. I'm gonna knead this probably for a good 5 minutes before I do anything with it. Let's give this a feel. It's pretty stretchy. Not quite where I want it to be because it's just kind of ripping at this point. So we're gonna keep mixing this. And I have it on just the very basic starter one on my stand mixer. Okay, so I think my dough's done in the mixer. I told you guys that I would show you how I knead it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on the counter. I do think that we're at the point where I could use just a little bit, not very much. And we're gonna scoop it out of here. It's just a little bit, not very much. But enough to where I need to add just a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm gonna try to lower this count. Okay, you can still see me. So I'm just gonna incorporate this flour in here. And I'm not gonna do too much with it since it's basically already done being kneaded, but it's sticking. So I'm just gonna go like this, and you just kind of go around, and it's kind of like a stretch and push movement. Nothing too crazy, but it is a lot nicer that the machine has done most of the work for me, so I don't have to do much, but just enough to where it doesn't seem like it's as sticky. but totally doable without a machine. I've done it for years without one. And to a point, I almost like it better because you can really feel it and get in there. But my shoulders have kind of said no more. So that's where I'm gonna leave it at. This looks really good and ready to rise. So I'm gonna put it in my glass bowl here. You can grease it, but I'm just gonna put it in here. We're gonna cover this and let it rise for an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. I'll see where it is. And then we'll knead it, and then we'll do, I can't remember if I do a second rise with this dough or not. I'll have to look. But anyways, we'll be back in like 30 minutes or an hour, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we have about 30 minutes left. It's rising pretty good, but we still have another 30 minutes left. So I'm just gonna let it keep doing its thing. Okay, so it's been about an hour, actually a little bit more. And my dough kind of popped out of the side here. So, and it's sticking really bad to this plastic wrap. I've also never had that happen. So that's cool. So I'm just gonna take off as much as I can here. Yeah, this is like a first. This has never happened to me. So now I want to make sure that no plastic is going to be in my bread. And we'll go from there. So there. A little bit of waste, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're just going to take this and we're going to dump it on the counter. Some people do a little bit of a floured surface. I don't usually. I just kind of work with it. Okay. And I just kind of squish it all down. You can hear all the air pockets getting squished down. And then I just kind of shape it. We're gonna cut this into 3 because this will make 3 loaves. So kind of do that. You can get any way. And then just as evenly as you can, get it. Cut it into 3 loaves. And this is where you can decide how many loaves you want. I mean, obviously it makes 3, but you can make 1, you can make 2, and then you can make the rest into rolls, dinner rolls, cinnamon rolls, whatever you want. So I'm just gonna kind of work with each one here and kind of just shape it. And roll it. Kind of just work with it. Try not to mess with it too much, but I also like to achieve the roll of the look that I like. So here we go. This will be loaf 1. It's not very hard. And then I have my 2 cast iron pans, and my 3rd loaf will go into a cast iron Dutch oven. So I'll just put this like that. So there's 1. And then I'll work with this one. And this one rolled up nicely, so there's 2. I'll put that in there. Put that to the side. Then we have our 3rd. Our 3rd roll, or loaf. And I'll just kind of fold this here in 3rds. Similar to sourdough. And then I'll just roll it. Create some tension at the bottom. I don't like this little side here. It's very bubbly. The yeast is doing its job. So, since this one's gonna go in the Dutch oven, it's gonna be more of a rounder loaf. And then I just kind of do a push and pull. Doesn't take very much. It's just building tension at the bottom here. Okay, so then I'm going to get my Dutch oven. I'm going to get some parchment paper. I'm just going to let it rise in here. So we're going to cover all of these and let them rise for another 30 minutes, and then they'll be ready to bake. I'm going to put down a thing of parchment paper and then some plastic wrap. So hopefully it doesn't stick like it did on me earlier. I usually have my towels, but I need to wash them, so. Okay, so we're gonna let this rise for 30 minutes. Okay, so first off, I misquoted you guys. I said 350 degree oven, and it's actually 375. So I heated up my oven and adjusted the temp. Here is what the loaves look like. They have come up. They have risen pretty well. Obviously, this one's a little bit bigger. And so this is when a kitchen scale might help. So I'm gonna put these in the oven for 30 minutes. So let me move you guys. Okay, I'm gonna move the racks up because this bread kind of tends to get pretty big once you're baking it. You might have to adjust your temperature or your time. We are in North Idaho, high elevation, well, higher than southern states, so. So I put all 3 in the middle rack. And we're gonna pop those in for 30 minutes. Fun part of your labor, you get to see the fruits of your labor here in about 30 minutes. And it is seriously really good all around sandwich bread, snacking bread. Probably wouldn't recommend it for like French toast. Make more like a brioche kind of bread. But I will show you guys the bread when it comes out of the oven in about 30 minutes. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that I helped in some way or encouraged you to make some bread.
It's not 100% dry, but
Okay, the bread is done. Don't mind the background noise.
Okay, I'll be out there. When I'm done.
30 minutes, and you'll have 3 beautiful loaves of bread. So thank you for sticking around to the end to see the end results. And I hope that you will start your own batch of bread. Thank you for stopping by today.